Hello, this is Ian Cook with Alvadine Consulting, and welcome to the Cosmic Water Closet. Let's do a card reading. Today's the 22nd. So, picking a card or two, depending on today's intention. So we'll think, what are we sitting with today? Okay. So what kind of came to me? It's balanced being. And I'm thinking this because I'm in a season of trying to balance energy, balance my output with my input, trying not to burn myself out, try to have a relatively quiet, restful winter so far, but still being mindful to plan out for this year, try to maintain the momentum from last year. A lot of plans percolating, a lot of seeds planted, trying to wait and be patient as things develop in their own time. Some things are a bit outside of control, so sometimes you just gotta wait. So the deck I'm reading with is the Inversion Tarot. This is a deck my wife got for me a few years ago. And so it's my daily reader. It's the one I try to do a reading with every day. If not every day, then it's okay to miss sometime here and there. But I read this one every day because when I read, I think of her and I love her. So it's a dual purpose kind of thing. Okay, I'll shuffle again. So kind of explain some of how this reading goes, of how I tend to read tarot. So I get the date, kind of gives me a when. This is a sigil, it's a symbol. I'll have some other videos kind of diving into more of what this means and how it means and what it does for me. But in all simple purposes, it's a symbol, a sigil. It has meaning embedded into it. Whenever I write it, that is me trying to focus into this moment. That is me opening a container. That's me focusing on presence, mindfulness, groundedness, physical structure, heavenly body, infinity and forever. And then below that, I typically have my intention. Sometimes it's values, sometimes it's just a couple words, sometimes it's a phrase, balanced being. And this is just what I'm trying to focus on for the day, what I'm trying to keep at the forefront of my mind, and also what I'm trying to ask the cards for, of like maybe some perspective or some advice of some insight into how I can have balanced being. And so as I will be shuffling these cards, I'll be thinking of that balanced being. So how did I choose that? So I'm shuffling the deck. I'm thinking about these things, trying to see what it feels like to be balanced, to be just to be. Um, and then when I split the deck, I have these two choices. The shuffling of the deck is the chaos of life, chaos of uncertainty. But when I shuffle the deck, that is me making a conscious choice. And so I split the deck, and then I take a couple breaths again. On the inhale, I'm kind of imagining energy kind of balling up above me, and then on the exhale, I imagine that light and that energy moving through me. So that kind of serves as like a body scan, visualization exercise, something similar to energy work, qigong, for those familiar with that. And so I'm trying to follow that energy of like, where's it going? Sometimes it's going to the right, sometimes it's going to the left, sometimes it's a little subtle, sometimes it's very, very obvious. On this last one, I just kind of felt this little warm tingle. So that's kind of where I went with it. But so we'll shuffle again. Split. And so then with the shuffle, I'm sometimes saying a mantra of, and it's kind of attached to the sigil here. So I see, I see, I see. It's the first part. So 3 eyes, I see, I see. On the back is the third eye. It's an occult eye that you can't see, so it's hidden. And then holy, holy, holy for this halo kind of forming. And then forever and ever and ever. That's kind of the mantra that's based on this thing forming. So I kind of visualize this thing forming as I'm saying that. I'm also thinking about these things. And so it kind of serves as like a practical, like, shuffle this many times. So it's sometimes like 9 shuffles. And then I'm pulling from the middle, pulling out to the bottom or the top. And there's really not a set pattern that I try to do. It's just kind of what I'm feeling and just automatic shuffling. And then I'll try to split it somewhere in the middle. And again, not try to think too hard, just kind of go for somewhere in the middle. And then I'll sit with this for a second. Okay, left. But that was very, very subtle. Felt mostly somewhere in the middle. Again, just a slight tingle. Oh, cool. Okay, so balance being, Ace of Pentacles, inverted, King of Swords, right side up. We'll document this. Well, since this popped up upside down, we'll say inverted so we can kind of keep track of that. And then just kind of looking at this intuitively, I'll try to do just a what does this mean to me of Ace of Pentacles, Earth sign, so material gain, material manipulation, things of the earth, things of monetary value, all this kind of stuff, making things. That's kind of pentacle energy. And so Ace in that regard is also the 1 through 10. Sometimes I see this 1 through 10 as like a beginning of something, the start of something, something small, something close. 10 can be something further down the line, something far away, the end of a cycle. So I can see this as kind of being a beginning of a cycle in terms of material matters, material gain. In terms of balanced being, that could be like the start of a foundation. So if I can create a solid foundation on top of that, I can maybe build something that's a little stronger, a little sturdier. But so the foundation can be very important for that balanced being. And then with the King of Swords, what I'm kind of seeing there is fatherly figure, leadership, someone that rules, someone just. And then thinking in terms of swords, which is air, that is intelligence, that's wit. I like to think of it as like a sword going through the air. It's got that swoosh to it. And so in terms of the balanced being, that can be thinking of leadership in terms of intelligence and benevolence and watching over things. So I can maybe use my intelligence and my wit to kind of keep check of where am I being balanced, where am I imbalanced, how can I objectively look at things and say, like, is this a balanced way of being? Are there things that I'm doing that are maybe making me out of balance? Maybe I'm being too busy. Maybe that's maybe I'm not focused on the right kinds of things. And so, so that's kind of my intentional and initial intuitive reading. And so from there, I will draw the card. So I also look at the manual, additional insight. And then I will document that. There. Okay. And so the Ace of Pentacles, this one came up upside down, so I'll sometimes look at the inverted reading just to see if it kind of resonates. And I know some folks like to do just the right side up or the inverted readings, and it's just like one or the other. But I like to see it as this whole picture. It's the whole card, and I get to take it all in as this one thing. Move my baby there. Okay, so Ace of Pentacles inverted. Over reliance on practicality. Too materialistic. So I can see myself getting a little imbalanced in terms of thinking about like material things, worrying too much about money or health, which I have experience with. Money is a big stressor for a lot of folks. I am not immune. Risky new opportunity or venture. I suppose I've got some new opportunities coming up. I don't know how risky they are. Lost opportunity. Yeah, so that lost opportunity can kind of come from maybe being unfocused and not being mindful and attention focused and aware of what's in front of me, and then maybe I could lose something because I'm not really paying attention because I'm maybe too lost in this material and this worry. So maybe that's a lesson there in terms of balance being as well. And then we'll go, so that was the reverse meanings. I'll give them first pass because of that's just how the card showed up. And then I can examine it and see if that's useful for me or not. Opportunity for growth and prosperity. Business venture. Investment. Excuse me. A new opportunity for growth or prosperity, a new business venture. I do have some developments in my own personal professional path as a health and wellness coach. So I've got my private consulting business, Alvadine Consulting. With that, I do health and wellness coaching, focusing on like personal growth and change. I also do work in the psychedelic assisted therapy space, so supporting people undergoing their therapies, I assist with preparation, integration, support while folks are going through the experience. So yes, so some sitting, facilitating. Sometimes just making sure that people are safe and supported so that they can do the work. But then in my day job, I do health and wellness coaching and case management as well. Very, very, very similar work. Holding space, sitting with people, showing up with compassion, non-judgment. Okay, so with the rest of this card, having the resources to build, produce, make things that take form in the real world. Again, that's kind of the pentacle energy of you're taking thoughts and feelings, you're processing it through the body, and then you're doing something with it. And so then that's taking form in the real world. So like me writing all this down is like taking that from these like higher ethereal forms of concepts and thoughts, symbols and meaning, and then bringing it down into this. And the gratitude for health, shelter, job. I'm very grateful for what I have. Some of these things seem like they were given to me just because I feel like I've stayed on a consistent path of service and practice. And then, yeah, being practical and realistic, identifying what is useful versus not useful. That can be helpful to kind of get to that balanced being. God, I love this card. It's beautiful. Okay, then as just like a final little measure to maybe bring this card further into the present. Draw it out. It's above the house. I guess since it was inverted, I could have drawn it upside down. But no, so I typically draw the card again as just like a part of this practice, a part of this meditation of like sitting with this thing, seeing it, feeling it. What does it look like when I'm like trying to bring these things down? I see art and creativity, art, music, poetry is like these ways that we can bring down these higher level concepts, values, archetypes. I'm a big fan of thinking things in terms of archetypes, in like a Carl Jung kind of way, Joseph Campbell, narrative, stories, symbols. How are these other people kind of trying to make sense of this world, this human experience? It's hard to bring these things down, and so a lot of it takes form in symbols of like, what do these things mean? What does pentacles mean? What does the earth mean? I do some work with deities, so I got Hermes over here, got the Buddha over here, got the Psyduck over here. And so my system it's a mishmash of things that I like and things that resonate with me, and I think that's worked for me because it's my own kind of system. Things I like, so it's already kind of charged with like these things that I hold close to my heart, and so I like to focus in my job. I like to focus on strengths, values. What do you care about? What do you want to see in the world? Some of my values, for example, is communication. How can I communicate better? How can I make sure that people understanding and knowledgeable about what I'm going through. And community is also really big too, so I do a lot of volunteering, a lot of community work. Balanced being, so balance is a big thing for me too. I love balance. Okay, we'll move to the King of Swords. So here we start intelligent leadership, kind of similar to my initial glean. I've got to use my thinking brain in terms of leadership. Make sure I'm not going too far into emotional, mental realm, or emotional, or physical or spiritual realms. And keep it more locked in logic, strategic, clear thinking, good problem solver. So a lot of what I'm doing in my job too is just problem solving of like, what are you working on? Where are you finding problems? Where are you finding hiccups? And then we can examine it and say, okay, what have you tried before? What have you researched? What have you looked into? What kind of strategy do you think can work for you? Often people do know what they need or how to get there. They just need a little bit of assistance to like pull it out. So we the pulling out of the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that people inherently have for themselves. So we're kind of evoking it, which is kind of it's a term that comes from motivational interviewing, which is a modality that I use in my job. It's an evidence-based practice in terms of again navigating behavior change. Oops. When you have this change that you're trying to go through, but there's this ambivalence to it, there's this back and forth, like you can't go one way or the other, so you're like on the seesaw kind of going up and down, and the ambivalence is holding both sides of wanting to make this change, but also not wanting to make this change, and both those sides have their own reasons. So like, for example, smoking and quitting smoking, a reason to change is like it's unhealthy, it can cause coughs, lung issues, COPD, chronic health issues, and so that's a reason to quit. So that's but on the flip side of that, and I'm speaking from experience here because I used to be a smoker, but we have stress reduction. It helps people manage stress. It helps people breathe. You get to take just a few minutes break from something. Like if something's kind of stressing you out, you can step outside, have a smoke, think on it, process it. But what kind of helped me get through smoking and getting to a place of cessation was like substituting behaviors, or like examining like what was that process when I was engaging with it. So like the process of smoking for me was breathing. It was taking a break, removing myself from a situation and going outside somewhere and breathing. When I really broke it down. And so if I had a cigarette or no, I can still do the breathing. Sometimes I still hold pens like that and I just do some breathing. It kind of like satisfies the oral fixation, the hands, having something in there. And yeah, so that's kind of that ambivalence of, you've got reasons to change, you also have reasons not to change. Hopefully the goal is to make the list of pros longer than the list of cons, so that you can no longer justify keeping up with this behavior that you're trying to change. And then like slowly, intentionally working on it over however long that change may take. So yeah, so wrapping up, writing down these inverted meanings. Which are kind of rough, yeah. Cold hard truth, harsh, mentally unprepared. weak underlying concept. Weak or unethical. Principles, information, advice. And then some of the other things on the right side up: strong, unflinching mind, bears witness to ugly truths, well-trained, educated mind, mental preparation. The truth is important, ethical, honorable, principled, skilled communication of ideas and information. So yeah, again, getting back to that, my value earlier of communication, what it means to me. Wise advice, solid information. Like those are good things. Okay. And we'll do our best. We'll try to draw this guy. Cool little headband. Yeah, let's get my third eye. Maybe that could be the mind's eye. Maybe that's how he's seeing. We'll have a sword. See, hold on. I guess we'll see. We'll see how this goes.